Well, good morning, y'all. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. My name's Adrienne Orso. I'm the Marketing and Program Coordinator over at the Leadership Development Institute. Before we kick off today, safety. In case of an emergency, please exit either of those doors. The stairs are going to be to your right and then to your left. You go all the way downstairs, and there's lots of open space downtown. Get away from the building in case anything goes wrong. But it's not. We're gonna have a good time. The worst of our problems is behind us. It was the mic. We have amazing panelists and speakers here for you today and facilitators. And I want to start off with two things, two little reminders. We had our safety. The second is if you wanted your Clifton Strengths report printed, we're going to print that for you in the next hour. And then when you come back from this first break, we'll have them for you out on the table. If you told Peyton and emailed Peyton your report, we'll have it printed for you coming back in at 11:15 for our next panel, where you'll really learn about what Clifton Strengths is about. But without further ado, I would like to welcome up Shalnika Adams Marcelone. She is a senior research associate at WeStat, as well as the owner and lead consultant of We Got Goals LLC. She is also one of LSU LDI's advisory board members, and we're so excited to have her kick off today's event. She's going to bring the energy, and we just love her. So without further ado, please welcome Shalnika Adams Marcelone.
Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, I actually am a vegan, 5 years strong, and I drink mushroom coffee. They made the fatal mistake of only giving us caffeine. So y'all about to get all this good energy. Okay, so like you shared, my name is Shalnika Adams Marcelone. When I go to Italy, it's Marcelone. And they remind me too. And I'm a senior research associate for WeStat. Some of you found me when I was here in Louisiana. I'm still here, but you found me when I worked for the Louisiana Department of Education as the Child Welfare and Attendance Liaison for the department. And I absolutely love that work. And I now have the opportunity to take what I've done in Louisiana and scale it up nationally. So now I'm working with the National Center for Student Engagement and Attendance as that center, as well as doing work with Promise Neighborhoods, which is amazing work. And I get an opportunity to support comprehensive centers across the United States as well. And so, you know me. I also have to give you my disclaimer, and I share this disclaimer with everyone. I come to work every day on a unicorn, and I live in a world of optimism. You have to have a special level of crazy if you're going to be in education and want to stay there. So I already know I'm with my people. Now, I also share that you never want to qualify yourself by quantifying yourself. So I never ask anybody how many years they've been doing anything, because the numbers lie. I'm a researcher, I know. But what I do know is the story is what matters. And I love that I have an opportunity to come here today and actually help to share the story of our keynote, but also learn the stories that you guys are engaging in as well, along with your story on leadership, your strengths, and how you're impacting and empowering those around you. So how I get to learn the room is simply this question that I ask. Whenever I'm in a room full of educators, I gotta know who I'm dealing with so I know how to deal with them. Just popcorn out. If you could ensure that any child across Louisiana graduated with one characteristic, what would it be? Popcorn out. If they could graduate, you were ensuring they were graduated, they could just graduate, walk across the stage with one characteristic, what would it be? Confidence.
Maturity.
Maturity. What was it?
Active listening.
Active listening. Ooh, she hyphenated that one. Huh? Optimism, yes.
Service mindset.
What did you say?
Service mindset.
A service mindset.
Empathy.
Empathy. Yes. You know what I love? I am truly in the room with my people. Because you know what none of you said? Nobody said, oh, I want them to graduate with straight A's. No, I want them to graduate being a part of the beta club. Do you know why that's important? Because when it gets back to the heart of leadership, we have to remember we're leading humans. And what you've shared with me is you care more about the child that's walking across the stage and how they're going to grow and thrive in this society versus what a piece of paper is going to tell us. Give yourselves a hand. All right, so we're here to talk about and learn about our strengths, but I'm gonna go ahead and share one of my challenges. My challenge is time management. So I'm gonna get back on schedule. So, first of all, welcome to all of our educators, to all of our administrators, our parents, and our community leaders. Without any of you, this work does not happen. And the fact that you committed your time to come here today to really hone and learn more about your strengths, but also share with others how your strengths have impacted those around you. I have this saying that when your growth grows others, you're in the right garden. And it seems that many of you are in the right garden, and I thank you for being here. Now, at the College of Human Sciences and Education, as well as the LSU Leadership Development Institute Strong Schools and Strong Community, the mission is to enhance quality of life across the lifespan, engaging in research, teaching, and service that empower individuals, and communities to achieve their full potential. LDI, housed within the College of Human Sciences and Education, develops leaders across the lifespan, across sectors. The mission of LDI is to develop all leaders at all levels, everywhere. A key component of our mission is the Strong Schools, Strong Communities initiative, which aims to apply cutting-edge, evidence-based research to develop strong leaders in education, in educational and community settings. This initiative perfectly complements the ongoing efforts in your schools and communities, furthering our collective goal of fostering environments where leaders thrive at what they do best. Here's the thing. You guys, like me, because I go ahead and claim who I am. I walk in it every day. We are change makers, not sideline sitters. You didn't come here to sit, although you are sitting today. I do know this. As I am speaking, your wheels are already turning. You're thinking about the communities you're working with. You're thinking about the families you're supporting. You're thinking about the children that are impacted around your work. And I already know you're thinking of ways to move the work forward and how you're going to do that with your strengths. So I wanted to make sure that we, highlight and really hone in on what it takes to be leaders and change makers. You guys are driving growth and resilience in your schools, in your neighborhoods. And one of the things that I am very conscious of is that we never want to slap the label of resilient on anyone. Because if you think about it, many of our kids that we're servicing, they're not resilient, they're surviving. And there's a difference. But as change makers, you're actually making sure that when we're saying they're resilient, they truly are. We're helping them get through their traumas. We're helping them realize their own strengths so that they can process and move forward. That's the difference. When you're surviving, you just get there. But when you're resilient, you can process what's going on, realize who you are, and move through whatever adversity there is and get to that destination, which might be achievement or it might be just the next step. So, without further ado, I would like to, invite you guys to join me in welcoming someone who is so special and so encouraging, and I'm glad that she has made this journey to come to Louisiana and share her work with us. She is a leader, an advocate, and supports the community. And one of the things that's important to share is she is one of us. Robin Burrow didn't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm just going to care about the community today. It was a process. I'm going to get into education because there's love for the children. I'm going to become a teacher, I'm going to be a principal, and eventually she has moved on to do great things So as an educator, community leader, and advocate, Robin has dedicated her career to empowering others, not just through her work as a retired K-3 principal, but also in her incredible impact of the Joe Burrow Foundation. Here's the funny thing. I didn't become a fan of your son until I read your story. So the foundation is a shining example of what happens when strong leaders and strong communities come together. Its mission to provide resources and support for children and families in need is an inspiration to all of us who seek a difference. Robin's passion for helping others is evident in everything she does. She understands challenges schools face, the resilience it takes to overcome them, and the profound impact we can have when we work together as a community. She's here to share her unique perspective on how we can all be change makers in our own communities. Her journey and the work of the Joe Burrow Foundation remind us of the power in stepping off the sidelines and onto the field of impact and service. Please stand with me and join in welcoming a champion for education, an advocate for the community, and a true change maker, Robin Burrow.
So as Shalnika, did I say that right?
You did.
As she was talking, I was like, this is just what happens when you have an awesome educator or someone in a leadership position in education. Guess what happens? They go and do other big things to make more of an impact somewhere else, right? Which is nice because then that opens the door for other people to come in and learn and grow, but I can tell that Baton Rouge is probably very challenged without you. But you're making more of an impact now other places or to more people. And honestly, that's really why, when I went back to college, so I was a fashion merchandising major the first time I went to school in the 80s. Oh Lord, in the 80s. And I worked in that field for about 15 years, and then Joe was born. We had Joe, and my husband got back into coaching, and he was traveling, and I was traveling, and it was not good for Joe. So I ended up quitting, worked in a school in Fargo, North Dakota, as a playground supervisor, which when I took the job, I did not quite realize what it was going to be like on the playground in Fargo, North Dakota in the wintertime when you go out until the wind chill is 14 below zero. But I took that job and I did it with a smile on my face and lots of layers of clothes. But then when we moved to Ohio, I went back and got my teaching degree because I went from playground supervisor, and then they started asking me to help in classrooms, and I started thinking, well, I can do this, I can do this better in some cases, right? So I just gotta learn what I'm doing. So went back, got my teaching degree, taught first grade, taught third grade, then became an elementary principal, and then all of the crazy Joe Burrow stuff happened, and now here I am, crazily talking to you all. But I always look forward to the opportunity to come back to Baton Rouge. I will admit that yesterday at this time I was in Orlando at the Pro Bowl celebration that's going on because Joe was invited to that this year. And the last time he was invited to that, we were actually getting ready for the Super Bowl. So unfortunately, we're not getting ready for the Super Bowl this year. But so leaving Orlando, I'm not going to lie, was a little hard yesterday as I looked out the window of the resort. But coming to Baton Rouge is always my favorite thing to do. And talking to teachers and community leaders is always my favorite thing to do as well. I appreciate all of your hard work, and I appreciate that all of you are making such an impact on children here in Baton Rouge and when you're impacting the children here in Baton Rouge, you're going to be impacting people for the rest of their lifetime. Not just your lifetime, but for the rest of their lifetime. So, that being said, I don't think I have a clicker, so I'm gonna have to stand back here, which is not my normal personality, so if I look a little antsy, forgive me. But, so now I'm working full-time for Joe's foundation, and we help to support here in Baton Rouge, in Cincinnati, and in Southeast Ohio, where Jimmy and I still live, where Joe grew up in Appalachia. We focus on providing resources and supports for the underprivileged and underserved. Food insecurity and mental health are our two main focuses. And yes, I am Joe Burrow's mom. I was Joe Burrow's mom for a lot longer than my husband was Joe Burrow's dad. Like, I was Joe's mom from the time, I started taking him to school when he was a little bitty. Oh, there's Joe's mom. Oh, you're Joe's mom, right? You don't have a name. Then I became Mrs. Burrow eventually, but I'm still Joe Burrow's mom. And I'm very proud of that. And so this is the Joe Burrow that all of you here in Baton Rouge remember, hopefully. I hope that y'all still do. That night was an amazing night, senior night, and what a crazy ride that was in 2019. And our family feels very blessed that we were able to take that ride with all of you here in Baton Rouge. But this is the little Joe that I remember every time he was out in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night when he was out there with the Burrow jersey on. I'm just thinking, oh, Jojo. He's still my Jojo. I still call him Jojo all the time. He doesn't make a fit about it too much usually, unless I do it out in public. Oh goodness, yes. So, oh Joe, smoking the cigar. At the time, I was thinking, oh my goodness, so now tomorrow I'm going back to school and all of the little kids are gonna say, Joe was smoking. And all the parents are gonna be calling and saying, I can't believe that your son was smoking a cigar indoors. Did he get arrested? I got chastised a couple times for having apple juice in a cup when I was on TV. That was also not good, but I learned how to get past that. But before there was this, there were a lot of days that Joe stood on the sideline at Ohio State, and he graduated from a little school in Southeast Ohio, not a powerhouse football, like private school. We don't even have private schools in Southeast Ohio. Everybody goes to public school. So he graduated with 150 kids. It was just your typical public school. We were very fortunate that he had a wonderful friend group and a very athletic, wonderful friend group that were very focused on getting better every day. But he didn't even get practice reps at Ohio State a lot of times. And for me, as a mom, he would call or he would text, well, how was practice today? It's the same, which meant not very good, right? Like, didn't get reps. And I just kept telling him, Joe, just keep working as you can to get better every day, right? Focus on just getting better every day. That's all you have control over. You can't control if you're getting practice reps. You can control if you're working to get better every day, whether that's during the running drills, or whether that's passing to a trainer on the side, or whether that's in the weight room. So keep working, keep working, keep working. Well, Ohio State didn't really work out, and then he brought his long locks of hair, which was another point of contention with the family, here to LSU. And when he came here, we didn't know. We had no idea if he was going to get to. We trusted Coach O, because he said, hey, you come here, and if you deserve it, you're going to get on the field. And that was a step in the right direction. Like, at least he could control that he was putting the work in, and if he was the best guy on the team, then he was gonna get a chance. And we trusted Coach O. So Joe went back to work again, and this time he was a little older, a little wiser. He had graduated in 3 years. That was before the transfer portal. That is crazy now, right? So he went back to work, and this time he was focusing though on his strengths rather than the weaknesses that kind of drug him down and that kept getting pointed out to him over and over and over. Because I feel like when you're focusing on weaknesses and trying to fix weaknesses, you're almost working against yourself, right? If you focus on what you can do well and do that better and better every day, you're going to get so much better, and your team is going to get so much better. So Joe became focused on his strengths, and Coach O and Coach E, they became focused on Joe's strengths and how those strengths could help the team, right? So that year was crazy. We have Joe, we have Clyde, bless his heart, we love Clyde. Jamar, love Jamar still, love seeing that connection, and Justin. And Coach O and that whole coaching staff started evaluating, oh gosh, this guy, he can really do this well. Well, he's on the right side, he can catch the ball over there really well. That guy catches it better on the left side, and so on and so on and so on. They evaluated the strengths of their team members, and they built a plan to win. They built a plan for success. And we all do that. Some of us better than others, I think, but when you identify strengths and focus on those strengths among your team members, you can go so far. You can go so far. And ultimately, my goodness, we won a national championship. What an unbelievable day. As you can see, Amy and I were very excited. What an amazing year. And so now, here today we are with your Empowered Community Summit, focusing on strength-based education. So as I really thought about this and what I wanted to communicate with you today, I started really reflecting on some research. Well, when I went back to school, right? Oh my goodness, relearning how to do a research paper. Whew. Yeah, that was in my 40s. That was crazy. But I remember very specifically this Venn diagram, and it spoke very deeply to my heart, because right in the middle are our students, right? They are the middle of our day. They are the focus of our day. And they come from home, and there are things from home that come to school with the student. They come to school, we are affecting them as our students. They come from the home as a child, and our communities also very much affect them. The resources that are in our communities affect that child. So the stronger each of those individual entities are, the stronger the children, the students become. So as I started investigating a little bit about your Stronger Schools and Stronger Communities initiative, it really definitely started ringing bells for me about being in control of what you can control. Because there are so many things in our day, in our week, in our year, in our whole lifetime that we cannot control. If you're a classroom teacher, you can't necessarily control what the other classroom teachers are doing, right? You are on your island. In elementary school anyway, that's what we used to call it. I was on an island. I tried really hard to boat over to the other islands every once in a while to talk to them about what they were doing. But when I figured out that when I was in control of what I had control over, it was so much more impactful for my students, for my colleagues, and then eventually for my building. It took a little while for me to figure that out because, those first few years of teaching, you're in over your head, right? You're just trying to keep your head above water. So, being in control of what you can control, and then starting to bring in the resources of your communities to help your students, your children, to become stronger. So, in Ohio, it was about 10 years ago, our school leaders started talking about the Whole Child Initiative, okay? Do you guys have that? Have you heard of that? Okay. So that was a huge push. That was like 10 years ago, right? So this was in Ohio, our visual for the whole child. Keeping them healthy, keeping them safe, keeping them engaged, keeping them supported, and keeping them challenged. And when you think about all of those entities, it really definitely makes a difference about how we can pull resources from our communities to help and bring that support in. Because I don't know about you, but as an educator, I was just trying to get through my reading lessons, right? It was my job to educate that child. I brought snacks to school, and I sent snacks home with kids almost every day. I paid for their lunches if their lunch accounts were empty, but we all do it, right? But what I learned is that it was so much more impactful when I was keeping the children healthy. Like, school nurses are wonderful, right? School nurses are great, but one big initiative in Ohio was absenteeism, honestly, right? And consistently, because substitute teachers, I love them and we need them, but they aren't y'all. They are you in the classrooms to make the most impact. So, one huge initiative that Ohio did was bringing clinicians, creating school-based health clinics. Do any of you have a school-based clinic in your building? A couple? I will tell you, so we started working on a school-based clinic at the school where I was principal. So we were very rural. Like, the closest doctor was about 45 minutes away. So if a kid even just had a well check, they were gone all day. Because by the time they got there and got back, the school day was basically over. They were going to miss recess and whatever. And the mom and dad were like, well, I'm there, store, and I can go get them a new pair of shoes. We're going to take advantage of that 45-minute drive. We're not going to waste the gas, right? So when we started really investigating our absenteeism, that was what we were hearing from our families. Like, we did our needs assessment, we did our community surveys, and figured out that it might make a really big difference if we have a school-based clinic. If we get a community partner whose strength is health and wellness onto our campus to serve our school. And we were a little school. I mean, my elementary was about 400 kids. And honestly, with VOTEC school and CCP classes, I had more students, butts in seats than the junior high and high school had. So it was a big deal to me. So we started working, talking to our community providers for a healthcare center. And we started working on it, and of course it was supposed to open it was April of 2020, right during COVID. So that put us behind a little bit. But we opened a school-based clinic. That's the door of our school-based clinic at my old school. And our attendance rate started going up. Our parents started coming to the clinic. And I'll tell you, I go off. You're gonna have to shut me off because I start going off on tangents. But one huge success story with our clinic is we had a little girl, she had the flu. Her mom actually worked at the health department. She was a nurse. But this little girl could always get her vaccinations at the health department because her mom was there. It was convenient for them. So they really didn't go and do well checks that much because, she was taking care of her bare necessities. She was surviving. Beautiful, wonderful, very smart little girl. Beautiful family. Well, this little girl got sick and had the flu. And finally, they decided, I'm just going to run her into the clinic because it was there, it was convenient. I'm going to run her into the clinic and see if they can help her. Well, our nurse practitioner did a PALP test and found a softball-sized tumor on this little girl's ovary. She was in 4th grade and she had cancer. That would have never been found if we didn't have that school-based clinic. At least it wouldn't have been found in time. Now that little girl has gone through, she's lost all of her hair, it's grown back, she's thriving now. But if we hadn't had that school-based clinic, I don't know if she would still, if she would still be growing that tumor in her tummy. Ugh, bless her heart. Anyway, here we go. So, another challenge that we had was student engagement. Our kids were bored. And I think that it's a huge challenge, especially now with all of the devices that we have, right? So kids are instant gratification, and it's harder and harder and harder to keep kids engaged. So we decided to implement the no cell phone rule, which went over like a lead balloon at first, but ended up making a huge difference. And after we started talking to our high school students in particular, they were like, actually, I really like it because I don't feel like I'm not always stressed about who's messaging me or whatever it's called, DMing and like all the stuff that they do, right? I don't feel like I have to go to the bathroom in between every single class to see who sent me a message. Like they were engaging with each other and it reduced stress levels for our high schoolers in particular. And then we worked really hard to engage the community and bring experts in for STEAM nights and career fairs and those kinds of things. And what that did for us in our little community, engaging those experts who had strengths way beyond our strengths in certain areas and showing kids that they could, if they worked for it, if they worked and worked and worked, they could control their future and have a career in whatever specific thing that they wanted. So that was really, really impactful for us, was to bring community people in. And I'm sure that you all do that, but don't lose sight of it because it's so important to engage your community and open your doors to them to bring them in. The other thing that made a really big difference for us with the whole child initiative was understanding where kids were coming from to school, what they were bringing to school with them. I don't know if, are you all familiar with adverse childhood experiences, trauma-informed practices? I'll tell you what, guys, this is a game changer. And if you haven't engaged with this whole approach, I would very much encourage you to become familiar with it. It's really about understanding that every little adverse childhood experience that a kiddo has makes a big difference. Whether it is, all of us are exposed, lots of kids are exposed to divorce, right? Well, that divorce, yes, they can be resilient to it, But when you start adding on all of the things, the big things that kids are bringing to school, like they bring their backpack with their book, but all of that other stuff is in there too, and it's weighing them down. And we, as educators, had to learn how to deal with all of that baggage, all of those things that were out of our control. We had no control over that. And I can't even tell you, like, how many times my teachers would come to me, Robin, Johnny doesn't have his homework again. Like, I've given him detentions. I take his recess. I've given him lunch detentions. I send notes. Nothing changes. Well, guess what? We can't control that. What we can control is what happens inside our four walls of this building, and we can then figure out what's the root cause of why he doesn't have his homework. Like, is it because he's taking care of his baby brother because mom had to go to work as soon as he got off the bus? I don't know. If it is, that's a big difference than if he's just saying, no, I'm not going to do it. What's the root cause? You got to find them. And you've got to engage with those families to help them make the change, give them the support that they need. Of course, kids are coming to school hungry, so yes, you can put together little packs of food, and kids knew that they could come in to get it if they were worried. Maybe it was the night that mom was going to work late and they didn't know if they were going to eat. Maybe the next night was okay. But taking all of that extra weight off of their backs makes a big difference. So if you're not familiar with trauma-informed practices and trauma-informed care, I very much encourage you to check that out. So Joe invested his time to work to get better every single day and focused on being in control of what he could control, which led him to coming to Baton Rouge to win a national championship for the Tigers.
The Tigers.